Gettysburg. Just hearing the name brings to mind images of valor, tragedy, and ghosts. For decades, it's been called America's most haunted battlefield, and it's easy to see why. More than 50,000 soldiers fell there over 3 brutal days in 1863. Ever since, local legend has filled its fields with stories of phantom soldiers and spectral cannon fire. Paranormal investigators flock to infamous hotspots like the Triangular Field and Devil's Den. These stories are compelling, woven deeply into American folklore. But what if Gettysburg isn't the most haunted battlefield after all? What if the title of Most Haunted is misplaced? What if there are other fields of conflict, other blood-soaked grounds, where the echoes of the Civil War are even louder? Places where the sheer brutality of the fighting left a scar so deep it feels like it's still bleeding. Where the spirits aren't just lingering, they are angry. Join us as we count down our list of the 7 Civil War battlefields that we think are even more haunted than Gettysburg. We're going to places where the casualty counts were just as staggering, and where believers say the paranormal activity is far more intense, more personal, and more terrifying. Coming in at number 7 is a battlefield where the carnage was so concentrated, so brutally swift, it's a wonder it's not talked about more: the Franklin Battlefield in Tennessee. On November 30th, 1864, the Confederate Army of Tennessee launched a desperate, last-ditch frontal assault against dug-in Union positions. It was a slaughter. In just a few hours, about 8,500 soldiers became casualties, with much of the fighting devolving into savage hand-to-hand combat. The epicenter of both the battle and its alleged hauntings is the area around the Carter house. The family huddled in their basement as their farm became a killing field. Their own son, Todd Carter, a Confederate soldier, was mortally wounded just yards from his childhood home and died inside 2 days later. Today, the house, still riddled with countless bullet holes, is a focal point of paranormal claims. Visitors and staff share stories of seeing a weeping soldier on the grounds, a Confederate figure with his head perpetually bowed in grief. Doors reportedly open on their own, and some people feel an inexplicable sadness, especially in the room where Todd Carter died. But the stories don't stop there. The nearby Carnton Plantation served as the largest field hospital after the battle. The floors inside are still visibly stained with the blood of hundreds of soldiers who underwent amputations. Visitors claim to have seen the ghost of a Confederate general on the balcony and heard phantom footsteps in empty hallways. Many paranormal enthusiasts believe the sheer density of death in such a small area has charged Franklin with a raw, sorrowful energy that's more palpable than even Gettysburg's most famous haunts. Our 6th entry takes us to another Tennessee battlefield, a place known for one of the most specific and chilling apparitions of the entire Civil War, the Headless Horseman of Stones River. The battle itself, fought from New Year's Eve 1862 into early 1863, was a brutal, chaotic affair that resulted in nearly 24,000 casualties. But it's the fate of one man that defines its ghostly lore. Lieutenant Colonel Julius Garrish, the Union Army's chief of staff, reportedly had a chilling premonition of his own death before the battle. On December 31st, while riding alongside his commanding general, a Confederate cannonball decapitated him instantly. Legend says his body remained in the saddle for another 20 yards before finally falling to the ground. Ever since, stories have circulated about the ghost of a headless rider galloping along the old pike where Garrish fell. The sightings are remarkably consistent, part of the unverified local lore shared by reenactors and late-night travelers. They often claim to hear the sound of hoofbeats just before the silent apparition appears, a headless figure in a Union uniform, riding furiously through the mist before vanishing. While Gettysburg has its share of ghostly soldiers, paranormal fans argue that none are as specific or as regularly reported as the lonely, headless rider of Stones River. At number 5, we have a battlefield that saw not one, but two major bloody engagements. Manassas, also known as Bull Run. The First Battle of Bull Run in 1861 was the war's first large-scale battle, a chaotic fight that shattered any illusion of a quick conflict. A year later, the armies clashed here again in an even deadlier battle. Combined, the two battles resulted in around 28,000 casualties. The grounds of Manassas National Battlefield Park are said to be thick with spirits. One of the most talked about areas is the old stone bridge, a key landmark in both battles. Visitors have claimed to see the full-bodied apparitions of ragged Confederate soldiers standing guard, only for them to vanish when approached. People picnicking nearby have been startled by the sudden eruption of what sounds like rebel yells and phantom cannon fire. Another persistent legend is that of a lady in white, sometimes reportedly seen drifting through the visitor center. Her appearances are often said to be accompanied by the faint sounds of moans, and she is believed to be the spirit of a nurse. What makes Manassas stand out to many paranormal researchers is the persistence of these stories. While Gettysburg is vast, some enthusiasts feel the hauntings at Manassas are more concentrated, forever replaying the chaos and panic of the war's first brutal encounters. Our fourth most haunted battlefield is Vicksburg, the site of a brutal 47-day siege in 1863. The city was the key to controlling the Mississippi River, and the Union Army surrounded it, cutting off all supplies. The fighting was relentless, but the true horror came from starvation and disease as civilians were forced to live in caves to escape constant bombardment. The entire Vicksburg campaign resulted in around 37,000 casualties, the vast majority of them military. The paranormal stories at Vicksburg National Military Park seem to reflect this prolonged suffering. Tour guides and visitors have captured countless photos they claim are filled with orbs, especially around the more than 1,300 monuments dotting the landscape. Some tell stories of seeing translucent soldiers patrolling the trenches at night and hearing the sounds of gunfire and screams echo from the Illinois Memorial. Some of the most chilling reports come from old houses in town that were used as hospitals, where people have claimed to feel invisible hands grabbing at their ankles, a terrifying echo of dying soldiers reaching out for help. Entering the top 3 is a battlefield famous for being General Robert E. Lee's greatest victory, but also for the tragic death of his most trusted general. In May of 1863, Lee's army, though vastly outnumbered, executed a daring and successful flank attack. It was a Confederate masterpiece, but it came at a terrible cost of roughly 30,000 casualties combined. The most famous of those was General Stonewall Jackson. On the night of his greatest success, Jackson was accidentally shot by his own men while scouting. His left arm was amputated and buried nearby, but Jackson died from pneumonia a few days later. According to local lore, that site has become a bizarre paranormal hotspot. A marker notes the burial place of Jackson's arm, and visitors have reported seeing a misty figure, which they believe is Jackson himself, eternally searching for his lost limb. Beyond this strange tale, paranormal investigators claim to have recorded compelling evidence across the battlefield. Near the Confederate trench lines, some investigators say they have captured strong EMF spikes and disembodied voices on recordings. Witnesses have told stories of hearing phantom footsteps crunching on leaves, as if an unseen column of soldiers is marching right beside them. Believers feel the energy at Chancellorsville is intelligent and responsive, making it one of the most actively investigated sites of the war. Our runner-up is a place defined by a single suicidal charge and a horrifyingly lopsided casualty count, Fredericksburg, Virginia. In December 1862, the Union Army launched a series of futile frontal assaults on open ground against an almost impregnable Confederate position along a sunken road protected by a stone wall. Wave after wave of Union soldiers were mowed down, with most attacks being repulsed far short of the wall. The battle resulted in nearly 18,000 casualties, the vast majority on the Union side. Today, that sunken road is often called one of the most haunted places in America by paranormal fans. Visitors walking along the infamous stone wall have reported the overwhelming smell of gunpowder and blood on cold, still mornings. They claim to hear the disembodied moans and cries of the thousands of men who fell on the open ground. Some have even claimed to witness full apparitions of Confederate soldiers marching along the road before vanishing. Paranormal investigations have reportedly recorded steady, high EMF readings all along the wall, suggesting to them a massive pocket of residual energy. The sheer terror of the Union soldiers charging into certain death seems to be permanently imprinted on the location in the minds of many who visit. And now the #1 most haunted Civil War battlefield in America, a place so remote and so brutal it was reportedly nicknamed the Horror Pit of the West by some soldiers who fought there. Shiloh, Tennessee. Fought in April 1862, Shiloh was one of the first truly shocking battles of the war, producing over 23,000 casualties in just 2 days. The fighting was a confused, savage affair in dense woods and tangled thickets. The hauntings reported here are as raw and violent as the battle itself. One of the most infamous locations is the Bloody Pond. This small body of water reportedly turned red as wounded and dying soldiers from both sides crawled to its banks to drink, many of them dying in the water itself. To this day, some visitors claim to witness the pond's water inexplicably take on a reddish hue, while others have reported seeing the apparitions of soldiers crawling towards it. Another terrifyingly active area, according to visitor accounts, is the Hornet's Nest, a sunken road where Union troops held off repeated Confederate attacks. The fighting was so intense that Confederates said the air, thick with bullets, sounded like a swarm of angry hornets. Here, visitors report hearing phantom rebel yells, the thunder of cannon fire, and the screams of the wounded. Perhaps the most unique and frightening story from Shiloh involves spectral soldiers who appear to throw rocks or spent cartridges at visitors. The isolation of the Shiloh battlefield, combined with the sheer violence of its history, has created a paranormal environment that believers feel is angrier and more unpredictable than any other. From the weeping soldier of Franklin to the angry specters reported at Shiloh, these battlefields hold a powerful, lingering energy. The immense tragedy of the Civil War has left a scar on these landscapes that, for some, time has not healed. While Gettysburg rightly holds its place in history, the stories from these 7 other locations suggest that the ghostly echoes of America's deadliest conflict might just be louder, angrier, and more restless somewhere else. So, what do you think? Are these just stories passed down through generations, or do the spirits of the Civil War still walk these hallowed grounds? Let us know in the comments below which of these battlefields you think is the most terrifying. And if you want more deep dives into haunted history, don't forget to like and subscribe.